Spruce or fir, long or short needles, chop it down yourself, or who are we kidding? We're not going that far. We're talking real trees. Here with this guide to picking the right tree for your holiday is Carson Arthur, the man himself. All right, Cars. Now that we're into December, people are ready for the tree. So tell me the truth. Is your tree up yet?
No, it's not. I feel like I'm already behind, but I will confess I have loaded one of these beauties into the back of the pickup truck. It is happening this week, I promise.
It is happening this week. And let me tell you, I grew up in a family where we did go out into the tree farm, and my dad chopped down a tree, and we did all the things and brought it home. And now I have an artificial one for my kids. So I'm giving them the same homemade experience, not really at all. So we sent you to a tree lot for this segment because this weekend is going to be a huge one for finding the tree for the holidays. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here at Conan Nurseries, and let me tell you, this one location is going to sell between 400 and 500 trees over the next couple of weekends. It's going to be insane, and all the fresh trees have just arrived, so this is a perfect time to get out and do your Christmas tree shopping.
But you got to know how to do it right. So you've got some tips to make it a success, and you say we've got some homework to do even before we leave the house.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few things you're bringing to the yard, and one of them is your tape measure.
Yeah.
Now, it's not about measuring the height of the tree. It's about measuring how well the tree is going to fit in your house. And the first thing you need to measure before you leave the house is the height of your tree stand. Trust me, every single year I have forgotten about the tree stand. So when I get into the yard and I'm picking out the perfect tree, I always forget that it's going to be taller than I think it is. Yet have I gotten one into the house where I hadn't had to chop off the top to make sure it fits under the roof. So we're going to measure the height, we're going to measure the tree stand, and we're going to measure the width of the tree. You need to measure the widest branches because what happens is you get a really fat tree and then all of a sudden it's 6 feet into the side of your house. So when you're measuring your width, you're going to measure it, you're going to double that amount, and you're going to add about 4 to 5 inches to account for the base. So this particular tree is going to sit 5 feet into the living room. That's a lot of space it's going to take up. So I'm going to go with a skinny tree instead just because of that. A few other things you want to take with you. A nice heavy ornament. Now a heavy one that can fall off and drop and break is perfect in this situation because you're testing branch strength. If the branch, with you put the heavy ornament on, bends way down, that's not the great tree for you. Balsam fir, notorious for having really soft branches. So we don't want to do that, but if it holds it, then you know it's going to hold all your ornaments really nicely. And when you're testing for that, you should also test for needles. Go like this. Pull across the branches, and if you get a bunch of needles, not a fresh tree. This one's really fresh. Another really easy fresh test, lift it up. Ugh! If it's a really heavy tree, that means it's full of water, which means it's one of the fresh ones, and that means it's going to keep its needles longer when you get it home.
You just manhandled that tree. You did not buy it a drink. You didn't ask permission. Are you going to put the tree on a treadmill? Like, oh my goodness. I can't believe we've been tree shopping so many years in my life and I didn't know half those tips. Like, these are really good tips, Cars. So I'm not surprised. This guy knows a lot. So you've measured, you've tested the branch strength, you made sure the needles aren't going to rain down once you get home. Now what do? Do we give it a math exam?
Literally. Once you've got the right tree for you, make sure you get them to cut a couple of inches off the bottom of the trunk. Even if you're taking it right home right away, the trunk is where all the water needs to be absorbed by the tree. And trees, naturally, when they have a wound or a break in nature, they scab over. So even these Christmas trees, which are grown on farms specifically for this purpose, will scab over the moment they're cut, which means they won't be able to drink water. So get 2 inches removed from the bottom of the base, and if your tree is going to sit outside for more than an hour or two before you get it indoors, plan to take another inch off just before you bring it inside so that it's nice and fresh and able to drink lots of water to keep those needles nice and fresh and intact.
Is it going to be obvious when you get it home that it's already, like, if it's scabbed over or not? Like, how can you tell that maybe you need to cut a little bit more off after you get it home?
If you can feel the sap and the sap is nice and firm and kind of crusty, that means the scab is already in place. If the sap is wet and sticky to the touch, then it's still fairly fresh. Those are the perfect trees to look for.
Okay, so now once you get it home, can you just put it up?
So this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. When you're taking a tree like this from a cold environment, because these are outside, and you immediately take it into the house and it goes from cold to warm, the first thing the tree does when it goes into that kind of a stressful situation is it sheds its needles. So we don't want to do that. So we need to ease the transition. So the best thing to do is when you get your tree home, if you can put it in the garage or put it in a dark, shady, cool spot, maybe at the front door, leave it there for a few hours before you move it into the house. That transition period will ensure that it keeps more of its needles, but also it lets the branches relax a little bit so you have a better shape, better idea, which is the nice side of the tree to put into the living room and which is going to go against the wall.
Yeah, see, I always wondered why my dad did that, and now I have the explanation. So don't stress her out. Give her some time to let the needles relax and understand its new home. So lastly, you've got an honorable mention, Carson. What is your dream pick for a real tree?
I'm a fir baby. No pun intended. I like Fraser fir, balsam fir, Douglas fir. I am all about the fir trees. They smell great, they hold their needles the longest, and I think color-wise, they're the prettiest. It's not the traditional tree, but it has been over the last 10 years the most popular tree, and I'm on the same wagon.
Oh, they're so pretty. Yeah, you picked the prettiest ones. Carson, amazing information as always. Thank you so much for that. That was awesome.